The first time Michael Harris noticed the shadow at the end of the hallway, he thought it was just a trick of the dim hospital lights. The corridors of St. Alden Memorial were always half lit at night, their yellow bulbs flickering like dying fireflies, stretching along the endless white linoleum floor. Michael had worked the night shift for 6 years and had grown used to the strange noises and unsettling silence that came with the place. But that night felt different. The air was colder than usual, and the emptiness around him felt thick, like something unseen was watching him from behind the walls. He kept walking, pushing his cart filled with medical files, but the feeling of being followed clung to him like static electricity crawling across his skin. He stopped when he reached room 412, where an elderly patient named Walter Benson was supposed to be resting after a minor surgery. As Michael reached for the chart, he realized the door was slightly open instead of fully shut, the way he had left it an hour ago. The faint fluorescent glow from inside the room spilled across the hallway floor, but something about it felt wrong. Stretched, elongated, as if the light itself tried to escape the darkness behind him. Michael pushed the door open gently, whispering to avoid startling the old man. But the room was empty. Walter was gone. No footprints, no disturbance, no sign of a patient who had been too weak to stand on his own. Michael stepped inside, scanning the corners, checking the bathroom, the windows, anywhere Walter could have wandered. Nothing. The air in the room was freezing cold, so cold his breath floated out in pale white wisps. He shivered and stepped back into the hallway, reaching for his radio to call security, but then he saw it again, at the very end of the corridor, where the lights flickered the most. A shape appeared, a tall, dark figure, not solid, not transparent, something in between. It stood unnaturally still, stretched in height far beyond a normal human, as if its form was being pulled upward by invisible hands. Michael blinked twice, thinking his eyes were playing tricks on him, but the figure did not disappear. It stayed there, motionless, facing him, though he could not see its face. Only darkness. A wave of dread washed over him so suddenly he froze in place. His heart pounded violently in his chest, each beat echoing through his ribs. He tried speaking, but no words came out. The air around him thickened, growing heavier with an unnatural pressure that made it difficult to breathe. The hallway lights flickered in rapid succession, each flash revealing the shadow's outline with disturbing clarity. Every time the lights blinked, the figure seemed to shift ever so slightly, as if creeping closer without moving. Michael took a step back, his fingers trembling as he reached for his radio again, but the device crackled with static, a low, eerie hum filling the corridor like a distant, whispering voice. Then he heard it, a soft, dragging sound. Slow, heavy, coming from the opposite side of the hallway. He turned his head to look, but saw nothing. When he turned back, the figure was no longer at the end of the corridor. It had moved several feet closer. Michael gasped, stumbling backward, dropping his radio onto the floor. The static increased, louder and more distorted, screeching like something alive trying to speak through the device. Panic surged in his chest as he frantically picked it up, but the screen was dead. Michael felt a sudden chill crawl up his spine and he turned again, expecting the shadow to be inches from his face. But it was gone. The corridor was empty. Silence filled every corner, too deep to be natural. His breath trembled in the cold air, and he slowly backed away until he reached the nurse station. He could not shake the feeling that the shadow was still there, lingering just beyond his sight, hiding in the half-lit corners. He forced himself to breathe, to think, to calm the adrenaline racing through his veins. But then he noticed something he had missed before. The hallway floors, previously spotless and polished, were now marked. Long black streaks stretched along the tiles, as if something had been dragged from room 412 toward the far end of the corridor. Michael's pulse quickened. The streaks looked like burn marks, as if the floor had been scorched by something hot or acidic. He knelt down carefully, reaching a hand toward the streak. But the moment his fingers hovered above it, a wave of ice-cold air burst from behind him. He spun around and saw it again, not at the end of the corridor, not several feet away, but standing just outside room 412. The shadow was taller now, impossibly tall, reaching nearly to the ceiling. Its elongated limbs hung unnaturally low, like tendrils of darkness dripping downward. There was no face, no eyes, no expression, yet Michael felt it staring straight into him. A primal fear surged in his chest, threatening to collapse his lungs. He could not move, could not scream, could not even blink. Then, with a sudden jolt, the lights flickered violently and the shadow vanished. Michael stumbled backward, gasping for air, gripping the edge of the nurse station as if it were the only thing keeping him anchored to reality. The cold air lingered, burning his skin with an unnatural chill. He scanned the hallway, but everything seemed normal again. The lights steady, the air still, but he knew what he saw, and he knew Walter Benson had not left that room on his own. This was no ordinary night shift. Something had awakened inside the hospital, something ancient, something hungry, and it had chosen him for reasons he could not yet understand. Michael Harris was now part of a chilling scares story he could not escape. Michael tried to steady his breath, but no matter how deeply he inhaled, the air never seemed to fill his lungs completely. His thoughts scattered in every direction, colliding with fear, doubt, and the terrifying image of the shadow standing outside room 412. He needed help. He needed another staff member to confirm he wasn't losing his mind. But the night shift had always been thin, and on this particular night, 2 nurses had called in sick, leaving him almost entirely alone on the 4th floor. He forced himself to walk, each step feeling heavier than the last, as if the hallway floor was subtly resisting his movement. The building seemed to breathe around him, expanding and contracting ever so slightly, like something alive was hiding beneath the angles of the walls. As he approached the elevator, he pressed the button repeatedly, not caring how desperate it made him look. The doors opened with a metallic groan, and he stepped inside, finally allowing himself a moment to lean against the wall and shut his eyes. But the lights above him flickered. He opened his eyes instantly, scanning the corners of the elevator. Nothing, just the soft hum of machinery and the faint vibration beneath his feet. He pressed the button for the 3rd floor, hoping to find anyone who could help him figure out where Walter Benson had gone. The elevator doors began to close, but right before they met, the hallway lights outside flickered again, and for a single, impossible moment, Michael saw the shadow standing just behind him in the hallway, its elongated form inches from the elevator threshold. He gasped and slammed the door close button. The elevator doors snapped shut and the machine jerked downward, but the image had already seared itself into his memory, freezing every nerve in his body. He pressed a hand to his chest, feeling his heart hammering violently against his ribs. When the doors opened on the 3rd floor, the environment felt strangely calmer, warmer, brighter, but an uneasy silence still lingered beneath the surface, like a hidden pulse. Michael stepped out cautiously. Here, the lights were steady, the floors spotless, the air free of that frostbite cold. He walked toward the nurse station where a single night nurse, Emma Collins, sat half asleep over her paperwork. Emma jumped when he slammed his hand on the desk. She looked up with wide, startled eyes. "Michael, what's wrong?" He hesitated, trying to choose the right words. "Emma, something's happening on the 4th floor. Walter Benson is missing." She blinked. "Missing? What do you mean, missing? He can barely walk." "I know," Michael said, rubbing his forehead. "I checked his room. He's gone. And I saw something in the hallway." Emma frowned. "Something? Like what?" He swallowed, his mouth dry. "A shadow, but not a normal one. It was tall, wrong, like it didn't belong in this world." Emma's expression softened, but he could see concern growing in her eyes. "You've been working too many shifts. Michael, maybe you're exhausted. Let's just call security." And a loud thud echoed down the hallway, cutting her off. Both of them froze. Another thud, louder, like something heavy dragging across the ceiling tiles directly above them. Emma stood slowly, her eyes glued to the ceiling. "What the hell is that?" Michael didn't answer. He knew exactly which floor was directly above them. The 4th floor, the floor where the shadow had stood. The thudding grew erratic, accompanied by a faint scraping sound. The ceiling lights flickered violently. Dust rained down from the vents. Michael grabbed Emma's arm and pulled her back from the center of the hallway, instinctively moving toward the walls. Then, in one terrifying moment, a section of the ceiling bent downward as if something massive was pressing from above. The metal frame groaned. The ceiling bulged, cracked. Emma gasped. "Oh my God, something's up there." Michael's voice trembled. "We need to move now." They backed away slowly, step by step, eyes locked on the bending ceiling. The thudding stopped abruptly, replaced by silence so sharp it stung their ears. And then, without warning, a long black shape slid across the ceiling, like a shadow being dragged by unseen hands. It moved too smoothly, too silently, stretching unnaturally across the tiles. Emma covered her mouth. "What is that?" Michael whispered. "It followed me." The shadow above them paused, its form shifting slightly as if adjusting its posture. Then two long, twisted downward streaks appeared almost like elongated fingertips pressing into the ceiling tile from the other side. The tile crackled under the weight, Dust fell in a slow, eerie drizzle. Emma's breathing became rapid, her chest rising and falling uncontrollably. "Michael, it's going to break through. We need to go." But neither of them moved. The shadow's elongated fingers slowly dragged across the tile, scraping with a dry, brittle sound that sent a violent shiver down Michael's spine. The sound felt wrong, like something sharp scraping against bone. The ceiling creaked, sagging dangerously. Then, as suddenly as it began, the shadow retreated. The ceiling tile flexed upward, the dim shape sliding back into silence. Emma exhaled shakily. What the hell is happening in this hospital? Michael forced himself to focus. We need to get back to the 4th floor. Something happened to Walter, and whatever that thing is, it's connected. Emma stared at him with disbelief. Back up there, after everything you saw. He nodded slowly, though fear made his muscles tremble. We can't leave him, and we can't let that thing roam free. Emma hesitated, but eventually nodded. Fine, but we go together. They started toward the elevator, neither of them noticing the faint, dark streak slowly bleeding down the wall behind them, like the shadow had left a trace of itself. And somewhere far above, in the deepest darkness of the 4th floor hallway, something began to move again. Something waiting, something hungry. The elevator ride back to the 4th floor felt longer than usual, as if the machine itself resisted taking them upward. Michael stood closest to the door, gripping the rail so tightly his knuckles turned white. Emma stayed behind him, her breath shallow and uneven. Neither spoke. The flickering lights above cast disjointed shadows that twitched with every movement of the elevator. It was impossible to tell whether the shadows belonged to them or to something else lurking in the cramped metal box. When the elevator finally dinged at the 4th floor, Michael felt his chest tighten. The doors slid open with a slow metallic groan, revealing the long hallway he had left behind earlier. But now, the air was colder, much colder than before. A wave of icy air rushed into the elevator, brushing against their skin like fingers made of frost. Emma instinctively stepped back, whispering, "It shouldn't be this cold on this floor." Michael didn't answer. He stepped out first, scanning the hallway for any sign of the shadow. The lights flickered in slow intervals, stretching the darkness between each pulse. The floor tiles still bore the black scorch marks that had led from room 412, but now they seemed darker, as if they had spread outward like bruises under pale skin. They walked cautiously, each footstep echoing unnaturally through the corridor. The sound felt wrong, too hollow, too distant. Michael kept looking toward the end of the hallway where he had first seen the elongated shadow. Nothing moved there now, but he felt watched, as if dozens of invisible eyes tracked his every step from inside the walls. They reached room 4. The door remained slightly open, just as before. Michael slowly pushed it open wider, and the cold air inside spilled out like fog. The room was darker than it should have been, even with the lights on. It was as though the shadows were absorbing the light before it could reach the walls. Emma whispered, "Walter, if you're here, just say something." Silence. Michael walked in first, scanning every corner. The bed was untouched, the blankets smooth, the window locked from the inside. There was no sign anyone had ever left. and yet the old man was still missing. The only anomaly in the room was the temperature bitterly cold, far colder than the corridor outside. It was so cold that frost had formed over the metal railing of the bed. Michael reached toward it. The metal was coated with a thin layer of ice, and a faint cracking sound echoed through the room as if something underneath the frost shifted in response to his touch. He snatched his hand back, then Emma gasped, "Michael, look at the wall." He turned toward the far corner of the room. At first, he saw nothing but patches of darkness, but as his eyes adjusted, the darkness began to move, slowly, deliberately, like thick black liquid crawling downward. It gathered in a single spot near the floor, rising into a shape that resembled a human silhouette, long, impossibly thin, and twisting in ways the human body never could. The shadow figure stood in the corner, motionless. Emma's voice trembled. "Oh my God, it's real." Michael stepped backward, his breath catching in his throat. The shadow's form pulsed gently, as if breathing. Then its head, or what resembled a head, tilted toward them, not with curiosity, but with recognition. Michael whispered, "Emma, don't move." The shadow extended an arm. It stretched outward like a smear of black ink pulled by invisible strings. Its long fingers reached the floor first, sliding across it with a slow, scraping sound. The air grew colder with each inch the creature moved. Michael felt his heartbeat pounding in his ears as the shadow's form elongated further, spreading across the wall and floor simultaneously as if it existed in multiple places at once. Emma's voice cracked. "Michael, we need to go." Before he could answer, the shadow darted, not with the speed of a running person, but with the explosive, unnatural motion of something that did not follow the rules of physical reality. One moment it was in the corner, the next it was inches from the bed, its form spreading outward like a stain of pure darkness. Michael grabbed Emma's wrist. "Run!" They sprinted out of room 412, slamming the door behind them. But the moment the door shut, the hallway lights flickered violently. All at once, the electricity buzzed with a deep, resonant hum that vibrated through the floor. The entire hallway plunged into near darkness. Only thin strips of light remained, illuminating fragments of the corridor like broken shards of reality. A cold whisper traveled through the darkness. A dragging sound followed. Emma gripped Michael's arm tightly. "It's coming." Michael looked behind them and froze. At the far end of the hallway, a shape appeared, stretching from the floor to the ceiling, growing taller with each passing second. Its limbs twisted and bent at unnatural angles. The shadow felt ancient, not just a creature, but a presence that had existed in the unseen corners of the hospital for decades, maybe centuries, and now it had noticed them. Emma trembled violently. "We can't outrun that thing." Michael pulled her toward the elevator. "We don't have to. We just need to get to the stairwell." But as they reached the center of the hallway, all the lights cut out completely. Darkness swallowed them whole. Only one sound echoed through the void. Long, deliberate footsteps, slowly approaching, getting closer. Darkness swallowed everything. The hallway that once felt too long now felt suffocatingly small, as if the walls had silently crept inward. Michael could barely see Emma's silhouette inches away from him. He could not tell whether the cold he felt was the hallway's air or the creature breathing behind them. The footsteps continued slow, deliberate, echoing with an unnatural rhythm. Michael whispered, "Emma, don't move. It finds things through sound." But Emma's trembling breath was sharp, uneven, impossible to quiet. The darkness around them felt alive, pressing against their skin like an unseen weight. Michael reached out blindly, trying to find the wall. His hand touched something ice cold, colder than the air, colder than frost. And he pulled back instantly. Whatever he touched was not a wall. It was smooth. It pulsed faintly, and it moved. Emma whispered, voice cracking, "Michael, something's next to us." Before they could react, the lights flickered once. Dim light illuminated the hallway for less than a second, but it was enough to freeze them in terror. The shadow figure was no longer at the far end. It stood directly in front of them, towering, distorted. Its limbs stretched across the ceiling and walls like dark tendrils. Its head tilted sideways, impossibly far, as if studying them with curiosity or hunger. The lights cut out again. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Michael's chest seized. His lungs refused to move. Emma grabbed his arm, nails digging into his skin. Her voice escaped in a broken whisper. "Michael, I can't see. I can't see anything." He forced a slow breath through clenched teeth. "We need to move." Quietly, backward, toward the stairwell. He guided her slowly, each step agonizingly careful. The darkness felt thicker the farther they moved, as if they were stepping deeper into a void rather than a hallway. The air behind them suddenly shifted the faintest movement, like a presence leaning forward. Then a breath, cold, damp, slowly exhaled directly onto the back of Michael's neck. Every muscle in his body stiffened. He didn't dare turn around. Emma felt him freeze and squeezed his arm harder, trembling uncontrollably. Another breath, longer this time. Colder. He could hear its shape moving in the dark, like ink sliding across a surface, like fabric tearing without a sound. Then, from somewhere above them, a faint whisper drifted through the air. It wasn't a word, not a language, more like a sound dragged from the throat of something that had never needed to speak before. Emma whispered, barely audible, "Michael, it's right behind you." He swallowed hard. "Don't turn around." They inched backward again. One step, another, a third. The darkness shifted with them. Something brushed the back of his shirt, soft and cold, like a fingertip made of smoke. Emma muffled a scream. Suddenly, the lights buzzed violently. A flicker, then another. The hallway illuminated again in disjointed flashes, each flash revealing the shadow's distorted body, inches from touching them. One of its arms stretched above them, brushing across the ceiling like a living crack in reality. Its lower limbs dissolved into mist before reforming into long, sharp lines. The lights cut off again. This time they didn't come back. A low rumbling sound sound grew in the distance. Floorboards trembled under their feet. The air pulsed in waves, as if the hospital itself was breathing with the creature. Michael yanked Emma's hand. "Run! Run now!" They sprinted blindly down the hallway, but the darkness distorted everything. The floor felt uneven. The walls felt closer. The air seemed to twist around them, dragging at their legs like thick fog. Behind them, the shadow moved fast, much faster than before. They could feel it closing the distance with each second. Michael's heartbeat thundered in his ears. He reached forward, praying his hand would find the stairwell door. Instead, he hit something solid. Emma slammed into his back. The air shifted again. The lights flickered back on. They were standing in front of a wall. Not the stairwell, not any door. A blank wall they had never seen before. Emma gasped, eyes wide. "Michael, this isn't possible. The stairwell is supposed to be here." Michael stepped back in horror. The hospital had changed. The hallway had warped, reshaped itself like a living maze. The shadow stood 20 feet behind them, rising taller than ever before. Its outline cut jagged patterns into the ceiling tiles, cracks spreading outward. Its arms unfurled slowly, reaching outward until they scraped the floor. In its chest, if it even had one, a swirling dark void pulsed like an open wound. Emma whispered through tears, "It's trapping us." Michael grabbed her arm with both hands. "We don't let it. Move." They darted into a side corridor, one that wasn't there earlier. The shadows shifted along the walls, stretching ahead of them, guiding or trapping them. He couldn't tell. The temperature dropped so rapidly that frost formed on their clothes as they ran. Michael looked back only once. The shadow didn't chase them by walking. It melted into the darkness, and the darkness began following them like a tidal wave. The corridor swallowed them as they ran, its walls stretching unnaturally, elongating like a living throat closing around them. Michael's lungs burned, but he did not dare slow down. Emma's hand trembled violently in his grip. Behind them, the wave of shadow poured through the hallway like liquid night, flooding every corner and devouring every trace of light as it moved. The hospital moaned under the pressure, as if protesting the creature's presence. The fluorescent lights above flickered madly, bursting in small pops as the darkness surged forward. Sparks rained from the ceiling, illuminating the hallway in brief, horrifying snapshots, each flash revealing how close the shadow had become. Its limbs dragged along the floor, leaving trails of smoke. Its torso twisted, bending in multiple directions at once. It was no longer a silhouette. It was something fully awake. "Michael, it's catching up," Emma cried, her voice breaking. "Don't look back," he yelled, though he could hear the creature's movement, an inhuman scraping, like metal grinding against bone. They reached a sharp corner and turned, only to find another impossible sight. The hallway ahead split into 3 separate paths, each wrong in its own way. The left corridor bent upward at a steep angle, leading into darkness. The right corridor twisted sharply, the walls contorted like they had melted and reformed. The center corridor stretched unnaturally long, as if extending farther with each passing second. Emma gasped. The hospital. "It's changing again." Michael examined each path in a split-second panic, but before he could decide, The floor beneath them trembled. A vibration rolled through the building like a heartbeat. The shadows behind them began pulling themselves up the walls, climbing like insects, spreading their limbs outward. The center hallway pulsed, the floor rippling like liquid. For a moment, Michael thought he could see faint footprints embedded in the ripples, too small to belong to an adult. Childlike, hundreds of them. And then he remembered Walter Benson's terrified ramblings hours before surgery, the ones the other staff dismissed as delirium. Walter had whispered that he could hear children laughing in the walls at night, that something long and thin crawled through the vents, that the hospital wasn't haunted by a person, but by a presence older than the building itself. The thought chilled Michael to the marrow. A loud cracking sound echoed behind them. The darkness surged forward again. Middle hall, Michael shouted, "Go now." Emma didn't question him. They sprinted into the center corridor. The floor rippled beneath their steps, but they kept going. The shadows behind them spilled into the junction, flooding the walls and ceiling like an avalanche of living ink. Halfway down the corridor, the temperature plummeted. Frost formed instantly across the metal door frames. Their breath turned thick, white, and painful. Emma stumbled, knees buckling. Michael caught her, whispering, "Keep moving. Please, don't stop now." But before she could stand again, a soft sound drifted through the hallway. Giggles, children's giggles, dozens of voices, layered, echoing, folding over each other. Their laughter was not innocent. It was hollow, cold, wrong. Emma's voice cracked. "Oh God, what is that?" Michael pulled her to her feet. "Ignore it. Just run." But the giggles grew louder, circling them from all directions. The shadows around them vibrated, as if reacting to the laughter. The floor ripples shifted rapidly, forming shapes. Small handprints rising from the surface like they were trying to claw their way upward. The air thickened. The corridor stretched further away the more they ran, elongating like time itself was distorting. Michael felt the panic clawing at his throat. It was as if the hospital was pulling them deeper into a place that had no end. Without warning, the lights overhead exploded one by one, shards raining down around them. Emma screamed and shielded her face. Michael dragged her forward, not stopping even when glass sliced across his arm. Then he saw it. At the far end of the corridor, a faint glow pierced the darkness, a flickering red exit sign. Relief hit him like a jolt of electricity. There, Emma, the exit. But as soon as he spoke the word exit, the laughter stopped. Silence fell. Dead, suffocating silence. And then the shadow surged forward with impossible speed, the entire mass of darkness condensing into a single towering form. It slammed against the floor, sending a shockwave of cold air rushing past them. The creature's head twisted, cracking loudly as it turned toward them. Its face, or where a face should be, began to split open into a jagged, yawning void. Emma sobbed, "Michael, it's blocking the way." No, keep going." The exit sign flickered wildly, as if struggling to remain visible. The creature's limbs stretched across the corridor, reaching for them. The walls pulsed, tightening, squeezing inward. Michael grabbed Emma, and pulled her with every ounce of strength he had left. The creature lunged, its shadow limbs slamming into the walls, cracking the plaster. A deafening roar reverberated through the hallway. Not a human sound, but something primal, ancient, hungry. They were feet away from the exit sign when the floor behind them cracked open. A massive hand of shadow burst from the ground, reaching for Michael's leg. He barely jumped in time. Emma screamed Michael's name, and the darkness swallowed his shadow whole. For a split second, Michael felt nothing beneath him. No floor, no air, only a cold weight tugging at his very existence. The shadow hand that burst from the tiles didn't just try to grab his leg. It tried to pull his entire being downward into something deeper than the building itself. The world around him tilted, the layers of reality bending like a warped reflection in broken glass. But his foot managed to land on solid ground again, narrowly avoiding the grasp of the shadow. He stumbled forward, barely keeping his balance. Emma screamed his name again, her voice cracking with terror. Michael, run! He didn't need to be told. He bolted toward the exit sign, but the shadow behind them changed shape again, its entire mass collapsing into a single, towering figure rising from the cracked tiles. Its limbs scraped along the floor, dragging an echo behind them like stretched fabric being torn apart. Emma grabbed his arm the moment he reached her. A little more, just a little more, but something was wrong. The exit sign flickered, as if fighting to stay alive, and beneath it, the door warped, bending inward. Breathing, the frame pulsed once, twice, like a living muscle contracting. Then the metal surface stretched outward, forming what looked disturbingly like a face pressing from the inside. Its features rippled beneath the metallic skin mouth, gaping silently in a scream. Emma froze. Michael. The door. The metal surface bulged outward, the silent mouth widening until it formed a gnarled, horrific void. The exit sign sputtered out with a sharp pop. Michael yanked Emma backward instinctively. Stay away from the door. A smell of burning metal filled the hallway as the door contracted sharply, then expanded again, as if breathing harder, faster. The air around it trembled. The walls vibrated violently, and behind them, the shadow creature grew. It rose upward like smoke, forming a physical body, its limbs stretching across the ceiling like dark roots. Its torso remained empty, just a swirling void pulling the hallway into itself. The creature tilted its head forward, and the void in its chest opened wider, revealing layers of impossible darkness. Cold air slammed into Michael and Emma like a gust of winter wind. Emma's voice trembled. "We're trapped. Michael, we're trapped." But Michael shook his head, panic and determination clashing in his eyes. "No, there's always another way. Hospitals have emergency corridors, maintenance rooms, something. We just have to." He didn't get to finish. The walls around them shifted, not subtly, but violently. Both sides of the hallway expanded outward, revealing rows of doors that hadn't been there before, old wooden doors with rusted hinges and peeling paint. Some hung open slightly, others vibrated like something inside was pounding to get out. Emma whispered, This isn't the hospital anymore." Behind them, the creature screeched, not with a sound, but with a vibration that shattered light bulbs along the ceiling. The hallway plunged into near darkness once again. Only the faint glow from the strange doors illuminated anything. Michael grabbed Emma's wrist. "Pick one, any door now." Emma ran to the closest one on the right and pulled. The door cracked open, revealing nothing but pitch black. Not darkness like a dark room, darkness like the absence of existence. A void. "No," Michael said, pulling her back. "Not that." They tried another. Inside was a narrow stairwell, but the stairs bent sideways, upward, downward, looping into geometric shapes that defied the laws of physics. Another door rattled violently, slamming open on its own. Inside, a hospital bed sat in the middle of a room far too large to exist within the building. Straps hung loosely from it, dripping with a thick black liquid that evaporated into smoke as it hit the floor. Emma yanked Michael's arm. Don't even look in there. Keep moving." Behind them, the shadow surged again. The tiles under their feet cracked. The temperature plummeted further, frost spreading rapidly across the walls, climbing toward the ceiling. Michael could feel the creature's pull, like gravity itself, shifting toward the shadow's chest void. The wooden doors began slamming open one by one, each revealing more impossible spaces. Endless corridors, inverted floors, rooms filled with flickering silhouettes of people who moved with unnatural jerks. Then they found one, a door slightly ajar that revealed a maintenance hallway normal, fluorescent lit, narrow, and real. Michael's voice shook. "There, that one. Go!" Emma shoved the door open, and they slipped inside. The air here felt warm, normal, real. Michael slammed the door behind them, but the moment it closed, something hit it from the other side. Hard. The force bent the metal hinges inward. Emma screamed. "It's coming through." Michael grabbed the heavy metal latch and held it. As the creature struck the door again, the impact shook the entire hallway. The fluorescent lights above flickered, glass chiming faintly. Emma helped me hold it. She pushed her full weight against the door, but the shadow wasn't physical. It poured through cracks like smoke. Thick, dark tendrils seeped through the edges of the frame, winding along the ceiling, reaching for the walls, dripping onto the floor. Michael's eyes widened in horror. It can get through anything. The door bulged, cracked, and with a final, monstrous push, the entire frame split open. But the creature didn't enter the room. It stopped, frozen, as if something inside the maintenance hallway frightened it. Emma looked around. "Michael, why did it stop?" Michael followed her gaze. At the far end of the narrow hallway, beneath a flickering fluorescent light, stood a small figure, a boy no older than 8, pale, expressionless, and completely still. The child lifted a hand slowly and pointed directly at Michael, then whispered one word soft, breathless, chilling, "Run!" For a moment, Michael couldn't move. Neither could Emma. The pale boy at the end of the maintenance hallway didn't blink, didn't shift, didn't breathe, not in any way a normal child would. He stood perfectly still, like he was carved from cold wax, yet his presence held weight, a strange gravity that made the air around him ripple. His whisper, "Run," still echoed through the corridor, even though he'd only said it once. Emma clutched Michael's sleeve. Who is that? Is he alive? Michael shook his head slowly. I don't know. But the shadow stopped because of him. Behind them, the warped door continued to creak, bent outward like something massive was leaning against it. But the creature did not enter. It stayed on the other side, its silhouette pressed tightly against the crack in the door frame. Its long fingers curled inward, as if recoiling from something it feared. The boy took one quiet step forward. The lights above flickered violently, dimming each time his foot touched the ground. With every movement, the temperature shifted, first warmer, then colder than ice, then warm again, as if reality itself trembled around him. Emma whispered, "Michael, this is wrong. That's not a child." Michael didn't respond. He felt it too. A sense that the boy's presence wasn't human, wasn't ghost, wasn't something meant to exist in the world of the living. Yet it wasn't malicious, not like the shadow. It felt different, older, watchful. The boy lowered his hand. His expression never changed. Then he turned his head slowly, not mechanically, not twisted but unnervingly smooth, like a camera panning across a room. His gaze locked onto the broken maintenance door behind them. The shadow on the other side reacted instantly. A rumbling growl vibrated through the metal. The boy lifted his hand again, pointing toward the far end of the maintenance hallway behind him. His voice soft, thin, almost airy, carried through the cold air. "Hurry, before it remembers." Emma stiffened. Remembers what? The boy didn't answer, but the creature behind the door did. It screeched, not a physical cry, but a psychic one, filling the hallway with a deep, ear-splitting vibration that rattled pipes lining the walls. The lights stuttered, the floor trembled, and the shadow pushed harder. The metal frame bent inward until a single, elongated finger slid through the crack, its tip sharp like a talon, dripping black fluid that sizzled when it hit the floor. The boy stepped backward, shrinking into the flickering darkness behind him. He didn't run. He didn't show fear. He simply moved deeper into the hallway, as if expecting Michael and Emma to follow. Michael grabbed Emma's hand. "We don't have time. We follow him." Emma stared at him with disbelief. "Follow him, Michael? We don't even know what he is." "I don't care. He helped us, whatever he is. He's not trying to kill us." Another deafening screech tore from the shadow creature, and the maintenance door cracked further. The metal hinges snapped one by one. Emma's fear broke into raw survival instinct. "Okay, go. Go now." They sprinted down the narrow maintenance hallway. Pipes rattled overhead, valves hissing, steam bursting in chaotic bursts. The fluorescent lights flickered wildly as they followed the pale boy's figure, which glided ahead of them with unnatural speed. Despite never appearing to move that quickly, the hallway stretched on longer than it should. Maintenance corridors were always short, simple, but this one warped the farther they ran, bending left, then right, then splitting into small intersections that should not have existed within the building. Michael's voice shook. "Is it guiding us? Or trapping us?" Emma didn't answer. She couldn't. Her lungs burned too much to speak. The boy finally stopped at an old industrial door marked "Sub-level access. Authorized staff only." The sign was rusted, torn as if it hadn't been touched in decades. The boy turned toward them again, his expression still empty, softened just enough to resemble sadness. "You need to go down." Michael frowned. "Down? What's down there?" The boy blinked. The first blink they had seen from him, his voice was barely a whisper. Where it started, Emma shook her head violently. No, we're not going underground. This thing is up here already. What's waiting down there?" The boy stepped closer. The air around him grew colder. His eyes darkened. "To stop it, You must know it." Michael felt his stomach twist. "Know what?" The boy's voice dropped to a haunting whisper. "The truth." A thunderous impact slammed against the maintenance hallway from behind. The walls buckled. Pipes burst, spraying cold water. The creature had found another way in. Its massive shadow unfurled along the ceiling, dripping downward like tar. Emma screamed. "Michael, choose. Now!" The industrial door creaked open on its own. The pale boy stepped back, disappearing down the dark stairwell, and the shadow creature lunged into the maintenance hallway. An explosion of darkness flooding every corner. Michael grabbed Emma and pushed her through the industrial doorway. They tumbled onto the first step. He slammed the door shut, gripping the handle with both hands. The door shook violently as the shadow slammed against the other side. Emma pulled Michael's arm. "Hurry, run." The stairwell lights flickered on, revealing a long descent into darkness. Behind them, the door bent inward, and from below, children whispered, hundreds of children, calling Michael's name. The stairwell felt impossibly deep, far deeper than any hospital structure should allow. The concrete steps creaked beneath their weight as Michael and Emma descended, their breaths echoing into the vast darkness below. The air here was different, thick, humid, suffocating. It pressed against their skin like something alive, something aware. Above them, the metal door rattled violently as the shadow creature slammed against it again and again. Each impact sent a tremor through the stairs. Dust rained down from the ceiling, tiny grains drifting like gray snow. Emma flinched with every strike, gripping the railing so tightly her knuckles turned white. "Michael, how long do we go down?" she whispered, voice brittle. Michael shined his small emergency flashlight into the shaft. The beam cut through the darkness but dissolved after 20 feet, swallowed completely by the black void. "I don't know, but the boy came this way. There must be something at the bottom." Emma's breath hitched. "You really think he's real?" Michael didn't answer. He didn't know. The boy felt like a ghost, yet not quite, like something stuck between existence and memory. Each time he thought of the child's empty stare, he felt a chill crawl up his spine. A sudden whisper echoed through the stairwell. It wasn't the creature above. It came from below, a chorus of soft, overlapping voices, children's voices, calling his name in that same eerie tone from moments before. "Michael, Michael, Michael." Emma gasped and grabbed his arm. "Please tell me you heard that." He swallowed hard. "Yeah, I heard it." The temperature shifted again. The stairwell grew hotter the lower they went, like they were descending into a furnace. But beneath the heat was something else. a faint mechanical hum, a rhythmic vibration, like old machinery still running far underground. Emma wiped sweat from her forehead. This isn't part of the hospital. It can't be. Michael nodded slowly. Then we're in something older. Another whisper rose from the depths. This way. Ooh. A soft light flickered far below orange. Warm, sickly like firelight filtered through smoke. Michael felt his heartbeat double. There, something's down there. They descended faster. The heat grew more intense. The air tasted like rust and chemicals. The concrete walls changed texture, smooth at first, then rougher, then covered in faint scratch marks. Some looking like tiny fingernails had carved them. Emma ran her fingers over a set of them and recoiled. These were made by children. Michael didn't want to think about what that meant. Finally, after what felt like an hour of walking, the stairwell ended at a rusted metal landing. A decades-old sign hung crooked above a massive steel door. Sub-level B. Archival hold. Do not enter, Emma whispered. Archival hold. Hospitals don't have this. But Michael noticed something else. The steel door was slightly open. A dim orange glow seeped through the crack. He put a hand on the cold metal and pushed. The hinges groaned, the door scraping along the floor. Beyond it was a long tunnel, like an abandoned service passage. Pipes ran along the ceiling, some leaking, others hissing steam. Old machinery lined the walls, covered in dust and rust. But the most disturbing thing wasn't the machinery, it was the drawings. The tunnel walls were plastered with hundreds, no, thousands of children's drawings. Crude crayon sketches in faded colors. Many depicted the hospital. Others showed stairwells, hallways, beds, doctors. But a recurring image appeared over and over. A tall, stretched figure, limbs too long, body too thin, a black void where its chest should be. Michael felt bile rise in his throat. They were drawing the shadow. Emma stepped closer to one drawing. It showed a child holding hands with the pale boy they had seen earlier. Next to them was scribbled text in shaky crayon letters. "He protects us," Emma whispered. "The boy. He helped them." Michael nodded slowly. "And maybe he's trying to help us too." But before they could process it, the tunnel lights flickered violently, and a loud clang echoed from behind them. Michael spun around. The stairwell door had slammed shut. Emma grabbed his arm. No, Michael, it trapped us." Then another sound filled the tunnel. Not the shadow, not the creature, not the children. Footsteps, soft, barefoot, approaching from deep within the tunnel ahead. Michael raised the flashlight. A silhouette appeared in the darkness, small, child-sized. Emma whispered, "It's the boy." But then the figure stepped into the dim orange light, and it wasn't the boy. It was a little girl, pale as bone, eyes hollow, wearing an old hospital gown stained with soot. Her hair hung in matted strands. She held a crumpled drawing in her tiny hand. She raised her head. Her voice was soft, trembling. "You shouldn't have come here." Michael's breath froze. The girl stepped closer. Behind her, deeper in the tunnel, dozens of small glowing eyes blinked open in the dark. Children, but not alive. Not anymore. Emma whispered in horror, "Oh my God." The girl dropped her drawing. It fluttered to the floor between them, a crayon sketch of the shadow, and beneath it, in shaky handwriting, "It eats the lost ones." Michael's flashlight flickered from behind the children. Dawn. Something massive began to move in the dark. The air in the tunnel thickened instantly, as if every molecule around Michael and Emma had turned to cold syrup. The pale girl stood silently, her hollow eyes fixed on them. Behind her, the dozens of glowing eyes blinked unevenly in the dark, each pair belonging to a small, shadowed silhouette children. But not children anymore. Their thin forms barely held shape, as if their bodies were dissolving into the darkness behind them. Emma's breath came out shaky. "Michael, we need to get out of here. Now!" But Michael couldn't move. The girl's words echoed in his skull like a forgotten memory. "You shouldn't have come here." Her voice carried something ancient, far older than the hospital, something not meant for living ears. The children behind her shifted, stepping forward in small, jerky motions. Their bare feet dragged against the concrete, leaving faint streaks of soot. Their movements were wrong, disconnected, as if their bones didn't quite align with their bodies. Michael forced himself to speak. What happened to all of you?" The pale girl lowered her head slightly. Her voice came out soft, brittle, like she was remembering something painful. "He kept us here." Emma swallowed hard. "Who?" The girl's small hand lifted tremblingly and pointed into the black void behind the children. Her finger shook violently. "The long one." Michael felt his stomach twist. "The shadow." The girl nodded once, slow and weighted like she was confirming a terrible truth. The glowing eyes behind her flickered, and the silhouettes of the other children stepped closer, forming a loose semicircle around her. They moved like they were being pulled forward by invisible strings. Emma tugged on Michael's sleeve. "We need to run before." The walls shook violently. A deep, rumbling roar tore through the tunnel. The children froze instantly, their heads snapping toward the darkness behind them in unnatural unison, like a flock reacting to the same threat. Their glowing eyes widened, not with malice, but with fear. The pale girl whispered urgently, "He is waking." Michael felt the concrete beneath him vibrate, dust falling from pipes above like snowfall. Far down the tunnel, the darkness churned, rolling like a wave. A massive shape stirred behind the sea of ghostly children. He couldn't see it fully yet, but he could hear it. Limbs scraping along stone, fabric ripping, bones grinding inside walls. Emma grabbed his arm harder. "Michael, we are going to die if we stay here." But the children suddenly began backing away from them, melting into the walls, their bodies thinning until they faded into the concrete itself. Only the pale girl remained, her cold eyes locked onto Michael's. "He followed you the moment you saw him. He chose you." Michael's breath hitched. "Chose me for what?" The girl's lips quivered. "To replace the lost one." Emma staggered back. "Replace? What does that mean? What are you talking about?" But before the girl could answer, the ground beneath them cracked open slightly, just an inch, but enough to release a pulse of cold air so intense It knocked Emma off her feet. The pale girl lifted one hand, shielding her eyes from the swirling darkness behind her. A distorted limb, long, thin, black as oil, slowly emerged into the faint flickering light. Michael's heart stopped. The limb dragged along the floor, leaving deep grooves in the concrete. The wall behind it bulged, as if something enormous was trying to push through. A low, guttural moan reverberated through the tunnel, vibrating the pipes overhead. The pale girl took a step back. Hurry, turn around. Go to the end of this hall. There is a door. Only you can open it. No one else. Emma pulled herself up. Why can he open it? What does he have to do with any of this? The girl's expression finally shifted from deathly blankness to something like sorrow. Because he was the last person the Long One touched. He marked him. Emma's face drained of color. She stared at Michael, shaking. Michael. What does that mean? Michael didn't reply. He remembered the breath on his neck, the cold touch, the shadow brushing against his clothes in the dark hallway earlier. Behind the girl, the massive limb slammed into the floor, hard. The entire tunnel shook so violently that lights burst, sparks raining like fireflies. The children's glowing eyes vanished into the walls as their forms dispersed completely, leaving the pale girl alone before the rising monster. She pointed down the tunnel again, her voice cracking. Go now, before he decides you're the one he wants more. Michael grabbed Emma's hand and sprinted down the tunnel. The concrete vibrated under their feet, cracking in long, jagged lines. Behind them, the creature roared, a hollow, echoing, impossible sound that seemed to come from every wall at once. The pale girl stayed behind. Her last words echoed after them. You cannot outrun him. Only outpace his hunger. Michael and Emma ran until their lungs burned. The tunnel twisted, lights flickering overhead. Pipes burst, spilling boiling steam. Shadows sprinted along the walls, following them with silent precision. Then they saw it, a steel door at the very end of the corridor. Old, bolted shut, covered in symbols scratched into the metal by trembling hands. Emma gasped. Michael, try it. He reached for the handle. The moment his hand touched the cold metal, the entire door lit up with branching black veins. It reacted to him, only him. Emma stared in horror. Michael, what did that thing do to you? He pushed. The door groaned, screamed, then slowly opened, revealing a blinding white light on the other side. Behind them, the creature roared again, closer now, much closer. Emma screamed, "Go!" And together they stepped through into the light. For several unbearable seconds, Michael felt weightless, floating in a void with no ceiling, no walls, no sense of direction. Emma clung to him, her trembling fingers digging into his arm. The air around them hummed with a soft electrical vibration, like 1,000 whispering voices buried beneath the surface of the light. Then slowly the glow receded, shapes formed, shadows shifted, and the world around them came into focus. They were standing in a massive chamber, but it was nothing like the hospital. The room stretched impossibly far in all directions, its ceiling so high it disappeared into hazy darkness. Pale, colorless light pulsed from somewhere above, casting long, distorted shadows across the floor. The ground beneath them wasn't concrete. It was smooth, gray, and slightly warm like skin. Emma staggered backward. "Michael, where are we?" Michael swallowed, his voice hoarse. "I don't know. It feels wrong, like it's alive." The walls pulsed gently, expanding and contracting like lungs, inhaling slow breaths. Across their surface were deep grooves, scratches made by something desperate. Some were small, like fingernails. Others were huge, dragged by something far less human. Emma pressed a hand over her mouth. "This isn't real. This can't be real." A low vibration traveled through the floor, rising up Michael's legs like a warning tremor. Something in the chamber knew they were here. Michael scanned the vast space. There was no exit, no stairs, no doors, only endless, breathing darkness. Then he noticed something strange. Footprints, hundreds of them, small, bare, childlike, imprinted into the skin-like floor. They led deeper into the chamber, curving toward a distant point swallowed by shadow. Emma saw them too, the children. "They came through here." Michael nodded slowly. "Maybe this is where they were taken." The thought chilled him. The long one didn't just appear in the hospital. It might have lived beneath it, fed beneath it, for years, maybe decades, maybe longer. They followed the footprints. The air grew colder with every step. The pulsing walls slowed, as if the chamber itself were holding its breath. Faint echoes drifted through the darkness, soft giggles, the whisper of tiny feet running across a faraway floor. Emma whispered, "Michael, we're not alone here." Suddenly, a faint light flickered ahead. Not white, not orange, blue, cold, artificial, like an old malfunctioning monitor. Michael stepped closer toward it. As they approached, an object emerged from the shadows. A massive cylindrical tank made of thick glass, filled with a cloudy liquid. Tubes protruded from its base, snaking across the floor. Old hospital machinery surrounded it, blinking faintly despite the rust and age. Inside the tank floated a body, small, pale, lifeless. A child. Emma screamed and covered her mouth, tears spilling instantly. No, what did they do to them? Michael approached the glass slowly, trembling. The child's body was perfectly still, suspended by the thick liquid. But what disturbed him wasn't the sight of the body, it was the shadow behind it. Pressed against the back of the tank was a dark shape, thin, human-like, but distorted. It wasn't the child's reflection. The shadow belonged to something far taller. Its limbs stretched out across the tank walls, as if it were trying to break free. Michael stumbled back. Emma. It was here before them, before all of them. They moved on, shaken. More tanks appeared, some cracked, some empty, some shattered outward. The deeper they went, the more the space changed. The breathing walls began to twitch, responding to their footsteps. Strange symbols etched themselves faintly into the surface, glowing with dim black light. Emma forced herself to keep walking. "We need to find a way out of this place. There has to be something, anything." Then they heard it. Not a growl, not a whisper, but weeping, soft, childlike crying echoing from somewhere ahead. Michael's heart dropped. Someone's alive. They followed the sound through another stretch of darkness until they reached a narrow opening like a wound torn into the chamber wall. They squeezed through, emerging into a smaller space. Inside, sitting alone on the floor, knees pulled tightly to her chest, was the pale girl, the same girl from the tunnel, only now she looked different. Her eyes were darker, her skin paler, and around her, the floor was stained black, as if shadow veins spread outward from her tiny body. Emma whispered, "It's her." We thought she stayed behind. The girl lifted her head slowly. Her voice was weaker than before. "You shouldn't have come." Michael knelt beside her cautiously. "We didn't want to leave you. We thought, you don't understand." Her voice cracked. "No one leaves this place, not unless he lets them." Emma shivered. "The long one." The girl nodded, and then her face twisted in sudden terror. "He's coming." The walls around them shook violently, dust raining from the darkness above. The chamber roared with a deep, monstrous sound like 1,000 voices screaming at once. Footprints appeared on the ground around them, forming from nothing, as if invisible children ran past in a blind panic. Michael grabbed the girl. "We need to go now." But she shook her head violently. "You can't run from him," Emma yelled over the shaking. "Then what do we do?" The girl looked up at Michael, eyes wide with hopeless dread. "You open the next door." Michael frowned. "What door?" "There's nothing here." But the girl pointed at the wall behind them, and then they saw it. Black veins spreading into a circular pattern. A hidden door slowly forming from the living surface. A door only Michael could open, because the shadow had marked him. The room shook again. A massive shape loomed in the darkness beyond the chamber. The long one had found them. The circular door continued to form in the living wall, veins crawling outward like black branches spreading under pale skin. The surface trembled, as if something beneath it pushed upward, begging to be released or to be fed. Michael felt a strange pressure in his chest the closer he stepped toward it. Like an invisible thread tied between him and the dark door was being pulled tighter and tighter. Emma held the pale girl's hand, helping her stand. The child's legs shook violently, as though she barely remembered how to use them. "Michael," she whispered, her voice fragile. "He marked you. Only the marked can open the way." Michael swallowed hard. "What's behind it?" The girl looked up at him with hollow, fearful eyes. "The place where he keeps what he takes." Emma stiffened. "We're not going in there. There has to be another way out." But the girl shook her head slowly. "There is no out, only forward." The chamber shook again, this time harder. A pulse of dark energy slammed through the floor, nearly knocking them off their feet. Footprints appeared again, dozens of them, racing in circles as if invisible children fled in every direction. A roar rolled across the chamber, growing louder, deeper, closer. The pale girl's face twisted with terror. "He found the door. He'll break through soon." Emma grabbed Michael's arm. "We're running out of time." Michael pressed his hand against the forming door. The surface was cold, too cold. It felt like pressing against ice that had just formed on top of something boiling. The wall reacted instantly, snapping open like a mouth splitting from the inside. The black veins curled back, peeling themselves away to reveal a narrow passageway carved into the darkness. A wind rushed out cold, metallic, carrying the faint scent of rust and something rotten. Michael felt his blood turn to ice. Emma whispered, "What is that smell?" The pale girl answered without emotion, "Memory." A massive thud struck the chamber floor behind them. Dust rained from the ceiling. A shadow, enormous and wrong, slithered across the far wall, stretching like an elongated silhouette dragged across a screen. Michael felt the thing watching him. He didn't turn. He stepped inside the passage. Emma followed, guiding the trembling pale girl behind them. The moment they crossed the threshold, the dark passage closed around them, the living wall sealing shut like a scab healing instantly. They were trapped inside. The corridor was narrow, barely wide enough for them to stand shoulder to shoulder. The walls pulsed faintly with a slow heartbeat rhythm. Strange symbols crawled along the surface, moving like insects under the skin. The air tasted heavy with age. Michael raised his flashlight, though its beam seemed to shrink in the oppressive darkness. "Stay close," he whispered as they walked. Emma noticed something unusual. "Michael, look at the walls." Embedded in the pulsing surface were shapes, human shapes, half-formed faces pressing outward, mouths open in silent screams, skeletal arms protruding for only a moment before melting back into the wall's flesh. Entire torsos trapped just beneath the surface, their forms distorted like reflections in warped glass. Emma shook violently. "Oh God. Oh God, they're people. They're..." The pale girl interrupted. "The lost ones. He keeps them, feeds on them, until nothing remains but the shadow." Michael's throat tightened. "Were they children like you?" She did not answer. Footsteps echoed behind them. Not children. Not human. Something dragging. Something tall. Something that breathed without lungs. Emma squeezed his arm. "It's behind us. Michael, hurry!" They moved faster. The corridor twisted, sloping downward. The deeper they went, the stronger the heartbeat in the walls became, until the entire passage throbbed with a wet, rhythmic pulse. Lights flickered through the walls like lightning behind storm clouds. Then the corridor opened. They emerged into another chamber, smaller but no less horrifying. In the center stood a massive stone pillar, covered in carvings far older than the hospital, older than any human civilization. The markings depicted elongated figures offering children to a towering shadow with no face. Emma whispered, voice shaking, This thing is ancient." The pale girl nodded. "He is older than names, older than walls, older than the idea of light." Michael approached the pillar. Something inside him responded, pulling him toward it. His hand trembled as he reached out. The instant his palm touched the stone, a shockwave of freezing wind blasted through the chamber. Emma screamed. The pale girl crumpled to her knees, and Michael saw everything, not with his eyes, but with his mind. He saw civilizations, long forgotten tribes, running in terror from a living shadow that stole their children in the night. He saw shrines built underground for protection, covered in markings that begged the creature to stay away. He saw generations sacrificed, families shattered, villages erased from existence. Each time the shadow was pushed back. It returned. It always returned. Then he saw the hospital. Alden Memorial. He saw workers digging its foundation decades ago, uncovering a sealed underground chamber. The moment they broke it open, something old, something hungry, awakened. Michael tore his hand away from the stone, gasping for air. Emma grabbed him. Michael, what happened? What did you see? He couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, could only look at her with terror. The pale girl whispered, "He chose your shadow because it was the closest to breaking." Michael shook. "He wants me." The chamber shuddered violently. Something massive squeezed through the corridor behind them. A tall silhouette, arms scraping the walls, chest swirling with endless darkness. The Long One had arrived. The chamber trembled as the Long One forced its way inside, its elongated form distorted under the dim, pulsing light, stretching and compressing like liquid shadow struggling to maintain a shape. Every step it took made the air thicken, and every movement of its limbs left trails of darkness that evaporated like smoke. Emma staggered backward, pulling the pale girl with her. "Michael, we have to get away from it." But the creature wasn't moving toward them. Not yet. Its head, if the twisted shape atop its towering frame could be called a head, turned slowly, unnaturally, until the empty void where a face should be aligned with Michael. The swirling darkness in its chest expanded outward, spiraling violently as if recognizing its chosen prey. Michael's breath hitched. The Long One remembered him. The pale girl trembled, her small fingers clutching Emma's shirt so tightly the fabric tore. "He sees the mark on your shadow. He sees you even in the dark." Michael looked down. For the first time, he noticed it. His own shadow wasn't behaving normally, while Emma's and the girl's shadows flickered in the dim light. Michael's remained solid, heavy, unnaturally dark, pulsing faintly with black veins the same way the living walls did. Emma gasped. "Michael." He stepped back instinctively. "I didn't ask for this. I didn't choose this. You were closest," the pale girl whispered. "You stepped where he steps. You breathed where he breathes. He marked you the moment you saw him clearly." Behind them, the ancient pillar shook violently, the carvings glowing with faint black light. The Long One's chest void widened like an opening mouth, swallowing the remaining light in the chamber piece by piece. Emma clung to Michael. "We need to run. There has to be another passage." But the walls pulsed faster, sealing shut in thick waves of flesh-like stone. The air grew heavier, making each breath a battle. The Long One extended one of its elongated arms, the limb stretching across the chamber in seconds, bending and curling like a length of living rope. It wasn't attacking. It was reaching, claiming him. Michael's mind raced. Why me? What does it want with me? The pale girl didn't answer immediately. She stared at the creature with an expression that wasn't fear, but resignation. Finally, she said, "The Long One always takes a guide, a living shadow to lead the lost into his hunger." Emma screamed, "We're not letting him take Michael." She stepped in front of him, hands shaking, body trembling but standing firm. The Long One paused. Its arm hovered inches from her face. Then it retracted, not because it feared her, but because she wasn't the one marked. A low hum filled the chamber, a vibration so deep it rattled the bones in their bodies. The pale girl collapsed to her knees, covering her ears. Emma gritted her teeth in pain. Michael felt like his skull was being crushed by invisible hands. The creature's shadow expanded outward, flooding the floor like ink spilled in water. Emma pulled the girl back, choking out, "Michael, we need to move." Michael forced himself to act. He grabbed Emma and the girl and sprinted toward the opposite end of the chamber, where faint cracks appeared in the living wall, maybe another door trying to form. But the ground beneath them suddenly moved, shifted, tilted, like they were standing inside the stomach of a living beast. Michael lost his footing, sliding across the fleshy floor. Emma and the girl fell beside him. The long one loomed above them, its limbs stretching across the chamber, trapping them like a spider cornering prey. Emma screamed as shadow tendrils shot out, slithering across the floor toward them. Michael pushed the girl behind him, desperate. "Stay back." The tendrils wrapped around his shadow, not his body, but the dark silhouette beneath him. They yanked violently, pulling his shadow upward as though it were a physical object. Michael felt pain explode through his spine, like something inside him was being ripped apart. Emma cried out, "Michael, no!" But the pale girl grabbed Emma's hand. "Don't touch him. If you interfere while he's marked, he'll take you too." Michael's shadow rose off the ground, lifting from the floor like a sheet of black fabric pulled by invisible fingers. Michael screamed, collapsing. The pain wasn't physical. It was deeper, soul deep. The long one leaned closer, its void chest swirling faster, reaching toward Michael's lifted shadow. Emma sobbed, "There has to be a way to stop this. Tell us how." The pale girl shook her head. "You cannot stop him, but you can break the bond if he chooses." Michael choked through the pain. "How? How does he choose?" The girl's voice trembled. "He takes your fear. If you give him no fear, he loses interest." Michael's vision blurred. "That's impossible." No. "He feeds on it," she whispered. "It's everything to him." The long one's arm wrapped around Michael's rising shadow, pulling it closer to the swirling void. Emma crawled to him, tears streaming. "Michael, look at me." "Don't look at him. Don't let him inside your mind." But the creature's whispers slithered through his skull, curling into his thoughts like smoke. "I want what is missing. I want what you fear losing. I want you." His shadow stretched, tearing at the edges. Emma screamed again, helpless. The pale girl stared at Michael and whispered the only hope he had, "Stop fearing him, or you're already gone." Michael clenched his teeth, forcing every ounce of willpower into holding on to the last piece of himself. As the long one's void chest opened wider, preparing to consume his shadow whole, Michael felt his consciousness slipping like the creature was peeling his very essence away layer by layer. The long one's tendrils wrapped tighter around his shadow, tugging it upward with a sickening elasticity, stretching it like dark Tara. Every inch it pulled made his body convulse, his vision warped, bending like heat waves on asphalt, twisting reality into nauseating shapes. Emma clawed across the trembling floor toward him, tears streaming down her face. "Michael, look at me. Stay with me. Don't let him take you." But her voice sounded distant, muffled, like she was shouting from underwater. His senses dimmed. The chamber's thundering heartbeat faded into a low hum. The pale girl's warnings became little more than echoing murmurs. All he heard clearly was the whisper of the Long One inside his mind. "Give in. You were chosen. I only take what you fear to keep." Michael's heart pounded. A rush of terror flooded his chest. Fear of dying, fear of losing Emma, fear of being erased. And the creature fed on every drop. Its void chest pulsed violently, pulling his shadow closer inch by inch. Emma grabbed his shoulders, shaking him desperately. "Michael, please, fight it. Fight him." The pale girl tugged Emma back. "Don't touch him. Your shadow isn't marked. If he reaches you, he'll take your form too. I don't care." Emma screamed, voice cracking. "I'm not losing him." Michael, barely conscious, heard her voice, felt her trembling hands, and something inside him stirred. Amid all the darkness clawing at him, a spark of warmth flickered, a memory. Emma laughing with him during their first shift together, coffee at 3 a.m., walking her home in the rain, her voice, her smile, her presence. The Long One hissed. The spark weakened its grip. Michael gasped, forcing air into his lungs. His blurred vision sharpened just enough to see Emma's face broken, terrified, pleading. "Michael," she whispered, trembling, "I'm right here. You're not alone. Listen to me. Don't give that thing what it wants." The creature responded with a violent tug, ripping half of Michael's shadow from the floor. Michael screamed, arching in agony. The pale girl cried out, "He's almost taken. Michael, you must empty the fear. Empty it." But how? How does someone just erase fear? The Long One's whispers filled his skull like cold smoke. "Fear is what you are. Fear is what binds you. Fear is what I eat. You were born with it. You will die with it. And so you are mine." Michael's vision darkened. He heard Emma's voice again, quiet, cracking under heartbreak. "Michael, please don't leave me. I love you. I need you. Come back to me. Please." The world snapped into focus. A surge of warmth tore through his chest. Light not from the chamber, but from inside him, pushed back against the darkness, squeezing his mind. Not fear, not despair. Something else. Michael forced his eyes open, locking them onto Emma's. Her voice, her love, her presence. She was the light. A defiant spark. The Long One reared back, its entire form writhing in irritation. The tendrils faltered just a fraction, but enough. Michael gritted his teeth. His voice came out broken but determined. "I am not afraid of you." The words echoed through the chamber like thunder. The tendrils around his shadow convulsed violently, glitching like a corrupted image. The Long One screeched an ear-splitting, bone-cracking wail that made the walls tremble and bleed thin streams of black fluid. The pale girl stared in shock. "He's weakening. It's weakening." Emma grabbed Michael's hand, squeezing it with every ounce of strength she had. "Michael, keep going. Don't stop." He focused on her face, her warmth, her presence. He forced everything else out. He forced the fear out, the guilt, the despair, the helplessness. He felt the long one recoil. His shadow began sliding back toward the floor. The creature shrieked again, thrashing. Its elongated limbs slammed into the chamber walls, creating massive cracks. The void in its chest pulsed erratically, flickering like a dying star. The pale girl shouted, "He cannot feed. He's starving." Emma held Michael tightly as he finally regained control over his shadow. It snapped back into place beneath him like stretched rubber retreating to its original shape. Michael collapsed into Emma's arms, shivering violently. His breath came fast, ragged, but he was finally present, real alive. But their victory lasted only seconds. The long one, though weakened, was not defeated. It straightened slowly, its form stabilizing, its limbs recoiling like a predator preparing its next strike. The creature wasn't retreating. It was adapting, changing, evolving. The pale girl's face filled with dread. "He's choosing again." Emma grabbed Michael, pulling him backward. "Choosing what?" the girl whispered in horror. "A new way to take him." The long one leaned forward. Its shadow expanded. The floor beneath them cracked open into a spiraling abyss. Michael's heart dropped. It wasn't trying to eat his shadow anymore. It was trying to take him whole. The floor split beneath them with a deafening crack. A spiraling abyss unfurled below, an endless, twisting void filled with drifting shadows, whispering voices, and flickering fragments of memories that didn't belong to Michael or Emma. The ground buckled, softening like melting wax as the edge crumbled away beneath their feet. Emma screamed, grabbing Michael's arm. "Michael, don't fall. Hold on." The long one towered above them, its limbs stretching wider, longer, forming an enormous cage of shadow around the chamber. Its void chest pulsed like a beating heart made of darkness. It no longer needed to pull Michael's shadow. It wanted his body, his mind, his soul. The pale girl stumbled backward, her knees shaking as the chamber's walls curled inward like they were being sucked toward the abyss. "He's changing forms. He's taking everything into the pit." The long one reached downward, its arm extended in impossible proportions, bending like a jointless rope. Michael pushed Emma aside as a tendril slammed into the ground where she'd stood, cracking the fleshy surface. The shockwave knocked all three of them flat. The abyss yawned wider. Inside it, faint silhouettes of hands reached upward, thin, bony, and countless. They clawed at the edges, begging, screaming, pulling themselves half out before dissolving into mist. Emma's breath hitched when she realized what they were. "Those are people." The pale girl shook her head with a pained expression. "Not anymore. They're only what's left." Michael forced himself up, his legs shaking. "We can't stay here. We need to move." But the chamber was collapsing. The living floor throbbed violently as if rejecting them, cracking apart in huge, jagged lines. Chunks of the ground broke free and tumbled into the swirling void below. Emma grabbed the pale girl and shouted, "Which way? Show us the way." The girl pointed toward the far side of the chamber where the wall pulsed with faint black patterns, forming another incomplete doorway. "He wants you," the girl whispered to Michael, her voice trembling, but the mark didn't complete. "You broke it." He can't pull you through your shadow anymore. Then what is he trying to do? Emma yelled. The girl stared into the abyss as dozens of shadowy arms writhed upward. He's trying to swallow you whole, like he did to the others. The long one roared, a sound that wasn't physical. It vibrated inside their bones, ripping through their skulls, drowning their thoughts. The chamber walls shook violently. The ceiling cracked open, raining debris and bits of living stone. The void chest expanded until it nearly scraped the ceiling. Michael clutched his head, screaming, "Emma, go! Move!" Emma pulled the pale girl and ran toward the forming doorway. The floor under her peeled away, churning into a downward slope. The abyss surged closer, air rushing around them like a giant inhale. Michael sprinted after them, but the instant he stepped toward the doorway, a tendril wrapped around his ankle. The world jolted. Emma spun around. Michael, the long one, lifted him effortlessly into the air. Michael dangled helplessly, struggling as the creature pulled him toward the swirling void in its chest. His body trembled violently from the force of its hunger. The pale girl screamed, "Michael, don't look at it." But it was too late. For a breath, Michael looked directly into the void, and the void looked back. Images blasted into his mind. Visions not of the creature's past, but of his future, himself swallowed by darkness. Emma dragged into the abyss after him, the hospital above collapsing into shadow, towns going dark one by one, the long one rising across the world like a living eclipse. He choked. No, get out of my head." The creature fed on his panic. Its void flared brighter, swirling faster. The tendril coiled tighter around his leg, sliding up toward his torso like a snake preparing to constrict. Emma lunged toward him, grabbing his hands. "I'm not letting go. Michael, please." The force pulling him intensified. Emma's feet slid toward the chasm. Michael cried out, "Emma, stop. If you hold on, it'll take you too. I don't care," she screamed, gripping him harder. "We're leaving together." But the pale girl knew better. She ran toward them and grabbed Emma's wrist. "Let go or he dies." Emma froze, desperate, torn between instinct and terror. Michael felt the last of his strength draining. The long one was winning. His body rose higher, his arms slipping from Emma's grip. His voice cracked with agony. "Emma, I'm sorry." The pale girl pressed her trembling hands against the ground. The veins beneath her palms lit up black, glowing sigils blazing across the chamber floor. She screamed, "He cannot take what is not afraid, so I will take the fear away." A shockwave exploded from her body. Michael's mind went blank. The fear was gone, not pushed down, not conquered, ripped out. The long one shrieked, its tendril loosened, its void dimmed, flickering like a dying flame. The creature recoiled violently, its entire form convulsing. Michael dropped. Emma caught him mid-fall, collapsing under his weight. Michael gasped, breath returning in ragged bursts. He looked around wildly, confused, dazed. The pale girl fell to her knees, panting, "Go! The door! Now!" The chamber crumbled behind them. The abyss surged upward like a rising tide. The long one convulsed, reshaping, its massive limbs flailing as if fighting against an unseen force. Emma pulled Michael to his feet. "Come on. We have to run." Together, they sprinted toward the forming doorway as the abyss swallowed the chamber behind them, and the creature roared in furious hunger. They didn't know where the door led. They only knew the monster would follow. The half-formed shadow door shuddered as Michael and Emma sprinted toward it, dragging the pale girl behind them. The entire chamber groaned like the inside of a dying beast. The living walls convulsed, twisting into unnatural angles, while chunks of flesh stone peeled away and plummeted into the roaring abyss below. The long one was not dead. It was changing. Its massive frame writhed as if shedding an old form, limbs snapping and reforming, growing longer and splitting into additional branches. The void in its chest flickered from black to a sickening deep red, pulsing faster with each beat. Its roar shook the chamber, a sound that felt like it clawed directly into their skulls. Emma dared a look back. The creature lunged toward them. "Run faster!" Michael screamed. They reached the forming doorway as the wall stretched upward, splitting open like a wound, tearing across flesh. Black veins curled around the edges, glowing faintly in response to Michael's presence. The surface sensed him again, recognized him again, because even without fear, the mark still lived on him. The pale girl stumbled. She was weakening fast, her small frame trembling from the energy she had used to rip Michael's fear away. Emma tried to keep her upright. "Come on, stay with us." The girl shook her head, breathing shallow. "The door will close if he hesitates. It only opens for him." Michael pressed both palms to the door and immediately felt a surge of cold shoot through his body. The surface peeled away, receding inward like a curtain of liquid shadow. A narrow passage appeared, stretching into darkness. Behind them, the chamber split again, the abyss rising like a tide. The long one dragged itself upward, using its enormous limbs, sinking its claws into the living walls. Every movement cracked the stone, sending fissures racing toward the doorway. The pale girl let out a weak cry. "He is enraged. He wants you more now." Michael grabbed her, lifting her with Emma's help, and stumbled into the passage. The moment they crossed the threshold, the doorway narrowed, shrinking rapidly like a throat closing after swallowing something unwanted. A massive tendril shot toward the door. It slammed against the narrowing frame, just as the last sliver of the opening snapped shut, slicing the tendril clean off. The severed shadow limb writhed on the ground like a dying serpent before dissolving into black vapor. Darkness engulfed them, and then the world shifted. They were no longer in a chamber, no longer surrounded by flesh walls or pillars or ancient runes. Instead, they stood inside a long hospital hallway. But this one was wrong. The lights flickered in slow, rhythmic pulses. The floors gleamed with unnatural shine, as if freshly polished. Every room door was shut perfectly. No noise, no movement. The silence was suffocating. Emma whispered, This is the hospital." But not the one above. Michael recognized it too. The same layout, the same shape, but different, like a reflection in a mirror that captures a version of the world, distorted slightly, too clean, too empty, too dead. The pale girl collapsed to her knees, shaking. No, this is deeper. This is the place his victims pass through before being taken fully. Michael pulled her close. "What do we do? How do we leave this level?" She She pointed weakly down the hallway. "The path is straight, but do not trust the doors. Do not trust anything that speaks your name." Suddenly, the overhead lights buzzed violently. A soft voice floated through the hallway. "Michael." Emma froze. "That's not possible. No one else is here." Michael grabbed her shoulders. "Don't answer it. Don't look for it." But the voice came again, louder this time and closer. "Michael." He recognized it, his father's voice, the one he had not heard in years. Emma clutched his arm, shaking. "Don't listen. It's him. It's the creature playing with you." The pale girl nodded, her hollow eyes reflecting nothing but dread. "He tests you. He can mimic every voice, every memory, every person you've ever loved." Michael's heart pounded, but he forced himself to face forward, refusing to look at the doors lining the hallway. They remained closed, but each one started to throb faintly, like something inside was listening, waiting. Emma whispered, "This place feels like it's alive." "It is," the girl said weakly. "It is made from the fears of those he has taken. You walk through the ghosts of their terror." A loud creak echoed behind them. One of the doors had begun to open slowly, revealing only darkness beyond it. A familiar whisper drifted out. "I miss you, Michael." Emma stepped back, covering her mouth. "Oh God, it's trying to pull you inside." Michael looked down, refusing to engage, refusing to give the thing his attention. His lack of fear made the voice tremble, fading slightly. He took a step forward. The hallway darkened. Something began crawling across the ceiling above them, a thin shadow with 12 bending limbs skittering silently like a spider made of ink. Emma looked up, eyes wide. "What is that?" The pale girl whispered without looking up. "His scouts, they hunt what he cannot see." Michael pushed her forward. "Go, we have to move now." They ran. The ceiling creature skittered after them, moving faster with each pulse of the lights. Doors along the hallway slammed open behind them, releasing cold gusts of air and overlapping voices calling Michael's name in 100 distorted tones. Emma screamed, "Michael, don't look back." He didn't, but he could hear the creature closing in its limbs, cracking like brittle bones, snapping. Ahead of them, at the end of the hallway, the walls began to warp, forming faint glowing veins. Another door, another gateway. The pale girl shouted through trembling breaths, "That is the next level. Hurry before the hunter reaches you." Michael sprinted, pulling Emma and the girl with him, the floor vibrating beneath their feet as the ceiling creature lunged downward, its limbs stretching toward Michael's back. They reached the glowing wall. Michael pressed his hand against it. The wall pulsed once, recognizing the mark. It opened. They dove through the doorway just as the ceiling creature slammed into the closing frame, screeching with a sound that shattered every light in the hallway. Darkness swallowed the screams, and the door sealed silent and final. Darkness swallowed them for a moment that felt endless. No sound, no air, no up or down, just a suffocating void so thick Michael wondered if he was falling or floating. His lungs burned, but when he tried to breathe, nothing moved. Then suddenly, a violent pull. The darkness folded inward like collapsing fabric. and spit them out onto solid ground. Michael hit the floor hard. Emma crashed beside him, gasping frantically for air. The pale girl tumbled forward, landing weakly on her hands and knees. For several seconds, none of them spoke. They simply breathed, grateful that air existed again. But the relief didn't last. Not here, not in this place. As Michael lifted his head, he froze. They were no longer in the mirror hospital. They stood in a place that defied sense, a realm shaped like a hallway, but warped into impossible angles. The floor slanted downward unnaturally, while the ceiling twisted in spirals overhead. The walls were made of shifting shadow matter, constantly rearranging themselves like liquid smoke trapped behind glass. Emma whispered, terror thick in her voice. "Where are we?" The pale girl slowly sat upright, her voice trembling. "This is the place between. It is where he waits when he is not hunting." Michael scanned the endless corridor. It stretched forward infinitely, but flickered at the edges like a glitching screen. Every few seconds, the walls shook as though something enormous brushed against them from the outside. Then he noticed something worse. Their shadows. Michael's shadow still pulsed with black veins, reacting to the realm around them. But Emma's and the pale girl's shadows did not behave at all. They rippled independently, delayed, as though their movements lagged half a second behind. Emma gasped. "Michael, look at your shadow." His was the only shadow still grounded to his feet. Anchored, the pale girl whispered, "You are still marked. You are still his target." Michael clenched his fists. "How do we move without him finding us?" The girl shook her head. "You cannot hide from him here. You can only move fast enough that he slips between choosing and devouring." A distant rumble rolled through the corridor like thunder underwater. The shadows along the walls fluttered, as if bowing to something approaching. Emma grabbed Michael's arm, trembling. "He's coming again." Michael pulled her close, forcing himself to breathe. "We have to keep going." He helped the pale girl up. She could barely stand, but she pointed down the endless corridor. That way, she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Do not listen to anything behind you. Do not look back, even once." Emma swallowed hard. "Okay, let's go." They ran. The corridor stretched and shrank as they moved, the walls bending inward and outward like a living lung. Dark shapes flickered at the edges of their vision, shifting through the walls like silhouettes trapped behind frosted glass. Every few steps, a soft tapping sound echoed behind them. "Tap, tap, tap." Emma covered her ears. "Michael, what is that?" He shook his head. "Don't listen. Just run." But the tapping grew louder, changing into footsteps. Heavy, slow, measured. A voice drifted through the corridor like a whisper blown across miles of dead air. "You cannot run from what you fear." Michael's heart stopped. Emma tripped, but he caught her, pulling her back into stride. Voices began layering, one over the other, their tones overlapping into a chilling harmony. Some were children, some were distorted versions of their own voices. "Come back." "Why run?" "He waits. He chose you. Turn around. Turn around. Turn around." The pale girl screamed over the noise. "Do not listen. He speaks through the world. He is everything here. The corridor shook violently. A pulse of shadow rippled through the wall like a stone dropped into water. Something massive pressed outward, leaving the imprint of a long limb dragging across the surface. Emma sobbed Michael. "He's right behind us, Michael. He's right there." Michael squeezed her hand. "Don't turn around, no matter what." Behind them, the footsteps shifted into a gallop, slamming into the ground hard enough to crack it. The pale girl shrieked, "Run faster." Michael felt the air behind him collapse inward, like a giant mouth inhaling. He felt cold breath brush the back of his neck, crawling down his spine. He wanted to look, he almost did, but the pale girl grabbed his sleeve with surprising strength, her voice raw with terror. "If you look back, he takes your mind first." Ahead, the corridor twisted violently, opening into a spiraling descent. The ground angled sharply downward, forcing them into an uncontrolled slide. All three of them tumbled forward, screaming as the floor dropped out beneath them. They slid down the spiraling slope faster and faster, the walls flashing with distorted images of hands, faces, teeth. Shadow creatures staring from behind the surface. Emma screamed, "Make it stop, make it stop." Michael grabbed her arm, pulling her close as they slid helplessly into the waiting darkness below. The pale girl shouted over the roaring air, "He knows where you will fall. He waits below." Michael yelled, "What's below?" Her answer was drowned in the void, but Michael heard enough to freeze his blood. "Where he keeps the living." They plummeted into the next layer, straight into the arms of the Long One's world. They plunged into darkness so complete it felt physical, like falling through thick velvet soaked in ice water. There was no end to the descent, just weightless freefall and the echo of their own terrified breaths. Michael clutched Emma with one arm and the pale girl with the other as they tumbled downward faster and faster. Then, a jolt, a violent stop. They slammed onto a surface that felt soft and yet impossibly solid, like hitting a living drum stretched tight over bone. The impact knocked the air from Michael's lungs. Emma gasped beside him, coughing hard as she rolled onto her side. The pale girl landed lightly, almost as if the place itself caught her. Michael sat up slowly, head spinning, chest heaving. He blinked and froze. They were no longer falling. They were standing on something enormous. A vast surface stretched out in all directions like an endless black plain. But it wasn't rock. It wasn't shadow. It wasn't floor. It moved. Slow, rhythmic ripples traveled through it, like the slow breathing of a colossal creature slumbering beneath them. Emma choked out, trembling. "This isn't ground, Michael. This is alive." The pale girl nodded weakly. Her voice was almost gone. "This is where he keeps the living ones. It is his back, his skin, his base. His world is built on himself." Suddenly, the surface beneath them pulsed hard enough to make them jump. A hollow thud echoed through the expanse like a giant heartbeat. Faint vibrations traveled up Michael's ankles, like something under the surface was shifting. Emma whispered, "If we are standing on him, then where is his real form?" The girl lifted a trembling finger pointing forward. Michael followed her gaze and saw the true horror. Far ahead, Rising like a mountain of writhing darkness was a structure that resembled a spine made of twisting shadow pillars. Each vertebra towered dozens of feet high, pulsing with dim red light. Veins of darkness connected them, forming a skeletal framework that curved across the horizon. Emma covered her mouth, speechless. "Oh God, Michael, that's..." The pale girl finished for her. His spine, Michael's stomach lurched. The long one wasn't one creature. It was a world, a dimension, a living realm stretched across layers of shadow. What they had seen before were fragments, tiny splinters of the real thing. Now they were finally standing in the heart of it. The surface beneath them rippled more violently. Cracks opened and closed, exposing glimpses of shifting tendons beneath. A single enormous red glow began to pulse in the distance, like an awakening eye. "He knows you're here," the girl whispered. "He knows exactly where you fell." Michael swallowed hard, then whispered, "We have to get off this thing before it fully wakes up." Emma looked around, panic tightening her features. "But where do we go? There's nothing but darkness and that thing." But the pale girl pointed toward a faint structure barely visible beyond the shadowed horizon. A small platform of stone, floating like an island held aloft by nothing. "There," she said quietly, "that is where the lost ones wait. That is where the exit is carved." Emma frowned. "An exit from this place?" "Oh." The girl nodded weakly. "It was made by the first ones. He failed to take fully. They carved it with what remained of themselves." Michael grabbed her arm. "Let's move before the giant wakes entirely." They started running as fast as the shifting surface allowed. The ground rippled violently under their feet, pitching them sideways. Points of shadow erupted like geysers, spraying upward before dissolving. The distant red glow brightened, pulsing in furious rhythm. The world trembled. "He is waking," the girl gasped. "We have to hurry." Emma grabbed Michael's hand, trying not to fall, as cracks opened and closed beneath them like jaws snapping shut. Michael glanced back once and immediately wished he hadn't. In the far distance, the massive spine arched upward like a serpent lifting its head. Entire sections of the world shifted into new shapes, as if rearranging itself. Dark plates of flesh stone tilted and rotated, forming spiraling patterns across the landscape. A colossal shadow limb emerged from the horizon, dragging itself upward. It was the size of a skyscraper, curling and uncurling like a monstrous finger. Emma screamed, "Move, move, Michael." They ran faster. The pale girl stumbled, but Michael caught her, pulling her along. The living world beneath them began collapsing section by section as the creature awakened fully. Massive chunks of shadow flesh peeled upward, revealing cavernous pits where faceless forms writhed in agony, reaching upward with bony hands. Emma sobbed, "Don't look, don't look, oh God." Michael kept running, breath ragged, brain screaming. Ahead, the floating stone platform grew larger, closer, reachable. Behind them, a deafening roar ripped across the entire realm like a hurricane of darkness. The enormous shadow limb slammed onto the surface behind them, sending a shockwave that launched all three into the air. They crashed down hard, skidding across the trembling ground. The platform was just ahead, so close, but the Long One's true form had finally awakened. Its massive head of swirling void rose over the horizon like an eclipse, opening its endless maw toward them. The pale girl cried out, "Michael, it sees you, it sees you." Michael grabbed Emma and the girl, pushing them toward the floating platform. As everything around them cracked, rolled, and collapsed, the Long One lunged. The world shattered beneath their feet. They jumped. Darkness swallowed everything. The darkness that swallowed them felt different this time. Thicker, heavier, suffocating like a black ocean closing over their heads. Michael's ears rang with a shrill frequency that rattled his teeth. He couldn't see Emma. He couldn't see the pale girl. He couldn't see anything. He wasn't even sure if he was falling or frozen in place. Then the void cracked open. A shuddering blast of cold air hit him as he landed hard on stone, real stone, not living flesh. Michael coughed violently, dragging himself up onto his elbows. Emma gasped beside him, her hand immediately reaching for his. "Michael, I'm here," he whispered, breathless, gripping her back. The pale girl lay several feet away, trembling but alive. She lifted her head weakly and whispered, "We made it to the last threshold, the last place before freedom." Michael looked around, squinting. They stood on a floating platform suspended above nothing, endless nothing. A vast abyss fell away on every side, lit only by a faint, unnatural glow rising from below like sick moonlight. The platform was shaped like an altar. Ancient symbols carved deep into its stone radiated faint blue light. Spiraling patterns intertwined across the floor, forming runes older than any language Michael knew. The air here was cold enough that every breath crystallized instantly. Emma clung to his arm. "This place feels wrong, Michael. It feels older than everything." The pale girl nodded. "It is older. Older than him even. This place was made by those who lived before he consumed them. They carved a doorway, a way out, but only the marked can open it." Michael felt the mark on his shadow pulse faintly, like a heartbeat echoing under his feet. Emma looked at the girl, her voice cracking. "Then why didn't they escape? If they made a door, why didn't they use it?" "Because," the girl whispered, "they died before they could finish it." A violent rumble shook the entire platform. The abyss below churned like a sea of black storms. Far beneath, a massive shape shifted, rising toward them. "He is coming," the girl whispered. Trembling terror drained her voice completely. "He is coming, and he is angry." Emma backed away, staring into the abyss with horror. "What do we do? How do we open this door?" Michael approached the center of the platform. At its heart lay a circular slab cut directly into the stone. Blackened ancient runes spiraled toward the middle, forming a shape like an eye. As he stepped closer, the runes lit up in response, glowing brighter with each footstep. Emma whispered, "Is it reacting to you?" Michael nodded, then placed his hand on the stone. Instantly, a surge of pain tore through him, like his veins had been filled with electricity. His body shook violently. Emma screamed, trying to pull him away. but an invisible force flung her back. Michael fell to his knees, clutching his chest as the runes spiraled outward, glowing brighter and brighter. The pale girl cried, "It's reading the mark. It's reading his fear, or what is left of it." The abyss roared. Michael gasped as a massive shadow rose from below like a tidal wave of darkness. The long one climbed toward the platform, its limbs unfurling like endless ropes, its void chest glowing deep red. Emma screamed, "Michael, hurry, he's coming up." Michael pressed his trembling palms harder onto the stone, shouting through the pain, "Open, open now." The runes flared white. The platform shook. A fracture formed in the air above the altar. Not a door, not a tunnel. A tear in reality itself, splitting open like ripping fabric. Blinding light poured through, illuminating the endless darkness. Emma covered her eyes. "Michael, it's working." The pale girl stared at the light, eyes wide with awe and terror. "They carved a way back to your world, a way home." But before relief could reach them, the platform lurched violently, nearly throwing them off the edge. The long one rose fully from the abyss. Its true form towered above the altar, writhing with countless limbs, some stretching into the void below, and others curling around the platform like giant snakes. Its void chest pulsed furiously, a swirling storm of red and black. Its enormous arm swung downward, slamming into the platform, sending cracks racing through the ancient stone. Emma crouched, screaming in terror. "Michael, the platform is breaking." The pale girl cried out, "He doesn't want you to leave. He will not let his marked escape." Michael forced himself to his feet, barely keeping balance against the shaking. The tear in reality above them widened, glowing like a sun made of raw light. He could almost feel wind from the real world blowing through. Emma grabbed his face. "Michael, we have to jump now, now." But the pale girl shook her head. "No, only he can enter first. Only he can complete the tear. You must go before us, or the door will collapse." Michael looked at the girl, stunned. "What about you? What about Emma?" The girl whispered with hollow sadness. "If you open it completely, we can follow. If you fail, we die here with him." The long one slammed another limb onto the platform. The stone shattered beneath them. The tear flickered violently. Emma screamed, "Michael, please jump." Michael looked at her, at the pale girl, at the world beneath them collapsing, and at the creature rising with hunger. He took a breath, stepped back, then ran forward toward the blinding light. Behind him, the long one lunged. Its huge tendrils slashed through the air, reaching for him, trying to grab him before he reached the tear. Emma screamed, "Michael, go." The pale girl screamed, "He must touch the light." The long one snarled with a sound that broke the air. Michael leapt. His fingertips brushed the blinding tear, and everything went white. Michael expected freedom, expected air, light, reality. Instead, he was suspended in a blinding white void, frozen mid-jump, arms stretched forward but unable to move. The light wasn't warm or comforting. It was cold, sterile, silent, like standing inside the heartbeat of an empty universe. Emma's scream echoed somewhere behind him, but the sound stretched, distorted, as if coming through water. The pale girl's voice followed, faint and distant. "Michael, you must finish the crossing." He tried to move, tried to breathe. Nothing responded. His body was locked in place, his thoughts blurred, as the white void thickened into a mist swirling around him like a cocoon. The light wasn't letting him through. It was examining him. Something deep within the light whispered, not in words, but in feeling. Marked, changed, not fully human. Michael's chest tightened. "No, I'm not like him. I'm not." The light pulsed. Behind him, the void tore open as a deafening roar shook the entire realm. Black tendrils stabbed into the whiteness, poisoning the air with shadows. The Long One had breached the tear. Emma's voice broke through the void, raw with terror. "Michael, he's coming through. Run, please run." Michael strained against the hold desperately. Let me go, let me go." His fingertips twitched first, then his arm, then the paralysis cracked like thin ice shattering underfoot. He dropped hard. He hit a cold, solid floor made of polished white stone. The blinding void dissolved into a sterile hospital corridor, but not sane. Alden, not the mirror hospital, not the shadow realm, a version in between, a liminal space. A place reality had forgotten. Walls glowed faintly like frost catching moonlight. The air tasted metallic. The silence was wrong. Not empty, but waiting. Emma and the pale girl slammed onto the floor beside him. A second later, both gasping for breath, Emma crawled to him, shaking Michael. "Are we out? Are we finally out?" Michael had no answer, because behind them the tear in reality was still open, and something monstrous was trying to force its way through. Tendrils slammed against the edges of the doorway, bending reality outward. Cracks spread like lightning across the walls as the Long One pushed its colossal body toward the threshold. Its void chest glowed deeper, swirling with rage. Emma screamed, "He's not stopping. Oh my God, he's still coming through." The pale girl scrambled backward, eyes wide with pure terror. He should not be able to enter here. He should not be able to cross. The door was not made for him. Michael stared in horror. "Then how is he coming through?" The girl whispered, "Because you are his mark, and he used your crossing to follow you." The tear split wider, releasing a shockwave that threw all three of them across the hall. Lights overhead ruptured one by one. Darkness poured into the corridor as the Long One forced the upper half of its enormous torso into the liminal world. It was bigger here, stronger, realer, as if this place gave it shape it never had before. Its limbs bent like corrupted silhouettes, twisting at impossible angles. Its head scraped the ceiling, leaving trails of burning black scum scars across the white surface. Emma clutched Michael's arm, trembling. "Michael, we're done. We're done. We can't outrun him here." But the pale girl shook her head violently. "The doorway is not fully stable. If he enters completely, he will collapse both realities. His world and yours will merge, and he will devour everything caught between." Michael felt his blood freeze. The girl met his eyes. "You must reject him again, not with fear, but with choice. You must refuse the bond. You must break the mark." Michael swallowed, helpless. "How?" "Tell me how." Her voice cracked. "You have to face him. You have to confront him without fear or hatred. Only then will the mark dissolve, and the tear will push him back." Emma stared at Michael, tears streaming. "You can't be serious. He'll kill you." Michael shook his head. "No, he doesn't kill with claws or teeth. He kills with fear. If I don't give him any, he will weaken." The building trembled as the Long One pulled more of its body into the corridor, bending the walls outward like rubber. Pieces of reality peeled away, revealing the swirling abyss behind. Emma grabbed Michael's face, kissing him desperately. "Don't you dare die, Michael. I can't lose you. I can't." He held her forehead against his, whispering, "I'll come back, I promise." Then he stood. His legs trembled, but he forced himself to face the colossal creature. As it crawled through the widening tear, the Long One saw him. It stopped, its body stabilizing, its limbs curling in anticipation, its void chest swirling like a living storm. It reached downward with a massive tendril. Emma screamed, "Michael!" Michael stepped toward it. Not back, toward it. The creature froze, uncertain. Michael said, voice shaking but confident, "You don't own me. You don't own anything here, and I am not afraid of you, not anymore." The void in its chest flickered. Michael stepped closer. "You are nothing without fear." The creature recoiled violently, its entire body convulsing. The walls rippled like waves crashing. Cracks spread across its limbs like shattered glass. Michael pushed harder, voice rising. "You only survive when people give you their terror, but I'm not giving you anything. Not fear, not pain, not myself." The Long One shrieked a sound so powerful it shattered every window instantly. The pale girl yelled, "It's working, keep going." Michael shouted with everything inside him, "I am not yours." The Long One burst backward, slammed into the tear, and the entire doorway folded inward like a collapsing star. The vacuum pulled the creature in piece by piece, its limbs twisting, shredding, dissolving into ash. It clawed at the floor, leaving black scars across the white tile. But its strength weakened with every second Michael held his ground. Emma grabbed his arm, staying close, trembling, but refusing to run. The pale girl crawled beside them and whispered, "The mark is breaking. He cannot stay." The Long One's final scream ripped through the corridor as its massive body vanished into the collapsing tear. The light slammed shut. Silence. Absolute silence. The corridor was empty. The world was still. Emma collapsed against Michael, sobbing into his chest. The pale girl lay on the floor, exhausted, whispering, "He is gone." For now, Michael looked around, breath unsteady. Where? are we now? The girl stared into the dim corridor, hollow-eyed. Between worlds, she whispered, barely audible. And the way home is still not open. Silence stretched across the liminal corridor like a suffocating blanket. No hum, no breath, no distant whisper, just stillness so absolute that Michael could hear his own heartbeat echoing inside his skull. Emma held onto him tightly, her face buried against his chest. Her body trembled with relief and exhaustion. The pale girl lay curled on the floor, breathing shallowly, her trembling form barely able to stay conscious. For a long moment, none of them moved. Then Michael whispered, voice cracking, "Is he really gone?" The pale girl nodded weakly, her eyes half open. "He is banished from this layer, but not destroyed. He cannot be destroyed. He only sleeps, and he waits." Emma swallowed. "I don't care if he sleeps as long as he's not here." "Michael, we need to find a way home." Michael looked up and down the eerie corridor. The sterile walls glowed faintly with a pale, cold light that seemed to flicker in and out of existence, like a glitching memory. It looked like a hospital, but didn't feel like one. The world didn't feel solid. The air tasted artificial, like breathing inside a dream. The pale girl whispered, "This place is between reality and his realm, a threshold, a waiting room for the lost." Michael approached her gently. "Can you walk?" The girl shook her head. "But I can guide you. The way out is ahead. It always lies ahead, never behind." Emma slipped under her arm, lifting her with care. "Well, lead together." They moved down the corridor slowly. Every step echoed impossibly far, as if the hallway extended 1,000 miles. The lights overhead flickered in patterns that almost resembled Morse code, but repeated nonsensically. The walls changed subtly each time Michael blinked, shifting between clean, polished surfaces and walls faintly imprinted with shadows that didn't match any of them. Then they reached it, a dead end, a flat, featureless wall of white. Emma stared at it in disbelief. "No, we can't be trapped. Not now, not after everything." Michael stepped forward. Something in his chest pulled him to the wall. A faint warmth, a fading throb. It was the last remnants of the mark, the final echo of the long one still lingering inside his shadow. The pale girl whispered, "That wall isn't a wall. It's the last door, but it only opens for those who break the mark fully. You weakened him. You tore the bond. You can finish it." Michael reached out and touched the surface. The wall pulsed beneath his fingers like thin skin stretched over light. Veins of faint black residue, the last imprint of the realm they escaped, rippled outward from the point of contact. Emma held her breath. "Michael, be careful." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the wall changed. It grew softer, like it was melting inward. Light seeped through the cracks, warm light, not sterile or artificial. Real sunlight, familiar sunlight. The sound of wind and distant traffic bled through as if from another universe. Emma gasped, "Michael, that's home. That's our world." The pale girl coughed violently, but smiled weakly. "You're close, but he still clings to you, the last part of the mark. You must reject it fully, or the door will not let any of us pass. Michael closed his eyes and felt it, the lingering cold deep inside him. A whisper, a memory, the last shadow of fear he had carried from the long one's world. He whispered, "I am not yours. I never was. I never will be. You do not decide my path." The corridor trembled. Something peeled off Michael's shadow like ashes flaking away. The black veins within it evaporated in thin smoke, disappearing into the sterile air. Emma watched breathless Michael. "Your shadow, it's normal again." The wall reacted instantly. It tore open like a curtain yanked aside, revealing a blinding golden corridor of morning sunlight and warm air rushing toward them. The girl whispered in awe, "You did it. The threshold is open." Emma pulled Michael toward it. "Come on, let's go home." But Michael stopped because the pale girl wasn't moving. She stood frozen at the edge of the shadow corridor, her small pale hand inches from the sunlight, but unable to cross. Her skin flickered like a bad TV signal. Emma frowned, confused. "Come on, sweetie. It's okay, you can come with us." The girl shook her head, tears forming slowly. "I can't go. I died a long time ago. I belonged to him for too long. There is no world left for me out there." Emma covered her mouth, tears rising. "Oh no, no. You helped us. You saved us. You deserve to go home." The girl smiled, a small broken smile. "No, my place is between. This is where I guide the marked. This is where I wait for the next lost soul. I must stay, so others may escape." Michael knelt in front of her, voice trembling. "Thank you for everything." The girl touched his hand, her voice soft. "And thank you for fighting him. Few ever do. Few ever can." The corridor shook again. The threshold began to close. "Emma," cried Michael, "we have to go now. Come on." Michael squeezed the girl's hand, then stood, then stepped through the sunlight with Emma at his side. The pale girl watched them with hollow eyes, then faded slowly into the liminal corridor like dissolving mist, her voice echoing faintly. "Go!" Before he wakes again, the door slammed shut behind them with a thunderous crack. Michael and Emma stumbled onto real hospital tile, bright daylight flooding through the windows. The world was loud, vibrant, alive. Michael leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Emma took his hand and whispered, "We're alive, Michael, we're home." But just before the light swallowed the last image of the between world, Michael thought he heard something follow them, the faintest echo, a whisper not of threat, but of memory. "I wait in the dark for the next shadow that breaks." The hospital lights flickered once, then steadied, and the nightmare ended. Or maybe just paused.